What's going on, everybody? Josh Engleman here for Stokastic.com, back again for the process Tuesday, August 23rd. Lots to talk about today. An absolutely awful baseball slate from yesterday. We'll briefly take a look at the awful hitting that existed across the entire slate. We'll take a look at who was playing the stacks in the relay throw, who was playing those stacks in the mini max. We'll take a look at pitching as well. We'll shout out Buddha B, whose name is on the screen right now, who single bullet won the relay throw, the mini max, and the four-seamer last night. Kudos. I got nothing else to say. I certainly didn't do it. And then we'll take a look at the contests for this Thursday's final event in this PGA Tour season, Tour Championship. I think it's the Tour Championship. It's the Tour Championship, right? Yeah, the Tour Championship. Said that before. I was confident that my answer was correct. So anyway, that's what we're going to do for today. You guys know the drill. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman, because we are about 2 months away from the NBA season. We're about 2 weeks away from the NFL season. We'll definitely be looking at a ton of NFL. Okay, so I put out a call for things that people would want to see. We're definitely going to dive into the NFL and look at some old contests and certainly reviewing different kinds of results on this show for the NFL. So that will be happening. We had somebody mention soccer, taking a look at how people play the main slates on Saturdays in the EPL. I would love to take a look at that, so I'll put that on the list as well. And then we had some people with some thoughts on why Ryan Yarbrough got more ownership. I would expect, in the comment section, it was a lot of, road stats, home stats, recent form. Those are the types of things that I would expect to increase ownership in the mini-max, not the relay throw. To me, that's the opposite. I don't think that anybody in the relay throw is paying attention to that kind of stuff. I would expect more. That would be when you see the relay throw have a lower exposure than the mini max, but certainly something to dig into. There was another thought that Yarbrough was projected pretty heavily at a different site, and that was driving some of the force. That is potentially possible. It would be interesting to see who actually played Yarbrough and if those people have any ties to that site. So that would be another interesting piece to do. Those are the things that you guys should be looking at as well. If you're trying to do an exercise like that, where you're trying to figure out what went right, what went wrong. Sometimes it's as simple as saying like, oh, the projections at RG had so-and-so player, 3 points higher than everywhere else in the industry. And then you go and check the exposures of those 150 max players. You see that they're more tied to roto grinders, for example. You could see that. Would make some sense. But anyway, we're getting started. We got to start here, though. PrizePicks, presenting sponsor of this video. Go to PrizePicks.com or use the link in the description. Enter the promo code AWESEMO, AWESEMO. You will get up to $100 on your first deposit. We're talking props here. We're talking over-unders. We don't have to worry about sharks or optimizers. You don't have to worry about fantasy points, really, unless you're trying to take an over-under on those fantasy points. Tons of different sports, NFL, MLB, golf, MMA, but you can get into weird stuff. Highlight, disc golf, Rocket League, all basically anything you can think of. PrizePicks has it. You guys should go check it out using that promo code AWESEMO. So as I mentioned at the start, I'm going to shout out Buddha B. One lineup, wins the relay throw, but not just the relay throw here. Buddha B won the relay throw, the mini max, and the four-seamer, clear across the board with one of the top lineups of the day. Someone actually went a little bit higher in the smaller mini max. That was Jake Day 92, got up to 178.65. But Buddha B took a very small investment in yesterday and turned it into over $100,000. So kudos there. It was just a really bad slate. So highest owned stacks. I couldn't even get the words out. Highest owned stacks from yesterday. Very clearly Atlanta. And then you had St. Louis and Minnesota not too far behind. Now, this is the relay throw. We're going to look at the separation in a second. Here's the real key. The highest scoring team yesterday was the Marlins at 63 fantasy points. Now, normally, especially on an 8-game slate, you're getting into the 80s, the 90s, the 100s. Miami at 63, Philly at 62, Yankees at 55. Yesterday would have been a very good slate to like not have any real big stacks because you could have really put the pieces together a little bit better. I stacked, unfortunately. I aggressively stacked the third worst team on the slate, the LA Dodgers, but no stack from a hitting perspective was worth a shit yesterday. Miami at the tops at 63. 17, 14, 13, 11, and then you don't even have anybody else for your five-man stack. If you go to Philly, 21, 14, 12, 11, and then you don't have anybody else for a five-man stack. If you five-man stacked yesterday, you were probably not making a very good lineup. That was just not going to be what you wanted to have for yesterday. So, without further ado, let's look at the sharps and squares for yesterday's slate. And we'll start it off on the hitting side. 80% five-man stacks in the relay throw, 73% in the $1 mini max. So your slight increase, a little bit less than I would have expected. It was 10% of a gap yesterday. So funny that even still, these were probably not the way that you wanted to go about it. Braves, a little bit more owned even as the chalk, but the big difference, the Mets were the interesting team. Basically 4% owned in the mini-max, 7% owned in the relay throw. That was one of the bigger bumps. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at what I had. And I got to pull up the smaller mini-max because we're only doing $100 a slate here. So that would be the one that this guy went crazy in. Let's find me and get me added. Actually, let's clear up that view first. Then we'll get me added. 20 of 150 in the money. Look at that. Good stuff, Josh. Great work. Great work. All right, let's remove pitchers. And we'll lump that together by team. Calculation should be set to sum. It is. So the Mets had 41 or 42% ownership here. But here will be the easiest way to do it. I'm going to pull up my lineups. We know that the Mets were in, where did they go? 7% in the relay throw, 4% in the mini-max. Josh Engleman at 12% Mets stacks. Yay. So I was on the right track for the Mets. That's good. I was not on the right track for Atlanta, but I did have some. Don't mind coming in a little bit lighter. That's just going to be a play style choice when you get up into that 8, twice as high as the second team. Philly and LA were the big drop-offs, which is interesting. Philly, second most. Dodgers, number one. Call it a wash. Good on the Mets. Yay. Maybe not so good on Philly and the Dodgers. Now, there were only so many different places you could go here. And there weren't, I basically hit the good one and both bad ones. So really just grabbing from both sides. I'll call it a wash. None of it really matters because I had only 5-man stacks and that was never going to get me anywhere. But the Dodgers were my heavy stand. I couldn't get away from them all day yesterday. It appears that was not the sharpest move in the world. Digging into that, probably not giving enough respect to Eric Lauer. He does not grade out all that well in steamer projections, and I think that was probably my driving force there. For Philly, I don't really know what the issue was there. Another team that I just found to be very easy to get to. St. Louis was the only other team that I had a bunch of. They were basically neutrally owned. Difficult slate to take anything away from. Hopefully you played more Mets, Tampa Bay, Texas, and Atlanta. Hopefully you didn't play as much Philly and the Dodgers. And I say that knowing that Philly is sort of the linchpin to get you to the top of the tournament. Now, from a pitching perspective, this was pretty flat. 2% either way on pitchers is not really all that much. So, Scherzer went down from 38 to 36, sure. Gray went from 17 to 19. You see a little bit more Smiley, a little bit more Aller, a little bit less Syndergaard. I think all of that makes some sense, but I don't think there's anything here that we could really read into. Everything is pretty directionally the same. I mean, what's the correlation here between these two sets of pitching exposure. It's got to be pretty massive. Yeah. Like it, and you should expect it to be like that, but these are really minimal differences. I think everybody sort of understood Springs was the best possible play you were going to find yesterday. Best combination of price and projection. Urias and Scherzer were very similar. The price savings for Urias kind of saved him, but they were definitely the next tier. And then you got into that Gray, Cabrera, Montgomery. Montgomery obviously went crazy, complete game shutout. Very similar here. And then you had some pay down options. I don't have a lot to dig into. Like the difference between 3% in the Minimax and 6% in Aller, they're still not in it enough to really matter. It's a little bit different here when these totals only add up to 80%. Like this is so much more relative exposure than when you're adding up to 200 over here. So these little changes don't really matter to me all that much. Would you have liked a little bit more Smiley and a little bit Aller? Sure. Sure, if you have 38% Scherzer instead of 36, that's not really driving any major changes. So pitching, I think, was pretty obvious yesterday. Hitting, to a degree, I think was pretty obvious as well. It was just a terrible slate for stats. No offenses went crazy. I woke up. Obviously, I had a lot of the Dodgers. I went to bed before anything had happened. I woke up thinking, all right, well, like if the Dodgers went for 6 runs, 7 runs, I'm going to be in incredible shape because I already knew the early part of the slate was awful. Open up the MLB.com app. Zero runs for the Dodgers. So just real chef's kiss of a moment. But anyway, that's the breakdown for yesterday's MLB slate. We will do this again tomorrow for sure. But now let's talk Tour Championship off to PGA. Don't forget to hit that like button, folks, by the way. Final event. And we got to remember, this is a very different event than it normally is for PGA. I think it's still 30 guys. I could be wrong here. It's not going to matter all that much. This isn't a PGA show. I think there's 30 guys left for the Tour Championship. If you told me it's 40, I would believe that too, but I think it's 30. So lineup construction is a lot different. You're going to have more duplication opportunities. From a contest perspective, it's pretty similar to what we had for last week. A couple contests dropped down a little bit more. The birdie, for example, was 80K last week. It's a 50K prize pool. But we sort of know what else is going on. Like it's the $1.2 million pitch and putt again with 1.2 million in prizes, same size. Between that, the up and down, the 8-iron, these are going to be the more expensive contests to enter. That's going to be $1,000 or more. You will get reduced rake in the up and down. You will have a very hard time in some of these contests. The pitch and putt is the one where you could get like amazing money. Up and down and 8-iron are going to be the most difficult contest you can enter, along with the club twirl. This is going to be the spot where you find the most amount of sharks and pros, because when you max that contest, you're getting basically 3% of all of the entries in the contest. If you get 15 people that do that pretty regularly as pros, you are going up against a very sizable chunk of tough money. That's going to be tough sledding if you're doing it. If you're not going that heavy, my recommendations would be this: a single entry into the mini leaderboard special, $6 to get in. It's a 10,000 person single entry contest with a 50K prize pool. If you're a one lineup person, that is the first spot that you should be putting a lineup. If you're looking to 150 max, I think the drive the green is going to be your best option. That's going to have the best payout structure for top 1% finishes. You're going to basically need to hit the nuts this week at 100,000 entries, given the size of the field. That's fine. 400K prize pool. The payout structure is great. And then we get into the similar stuff. 20 entries into the birdie looks great. 50K prize pool. If you want to do 3 entries into the lag putt, I think that looks pretty good as well, but that's only a 10K prize pool. The mini max stands out as a pretty nice contest. Only a $25,000 prize pool, but only 59,000 entries. I like everything in this middle section if you're trying to build out a real portfolio of golf lineups. So what I'm going to do is this. I am going to get in the mini max. I got to do the mini leaderboard special. It's just a really good contest. It would not be smart to just skip it. We're going to do $150 for golf since it's the final contest. We're going to do 20 into the birdie. That takes us up to 141. We've got $9 left. We're going to go slightly over that 150. I want to get into the Albatross. It's a contest that I desperately want to win at some point in time. Very difficult to do, obviously. So we'll do the Albatross. That's going to get us to 153, 35.5 times your buy-in for your average 1% entry. But if you've got the money, take a shot at the pitch and putt. That's how you can get a very, very sizable chunk of change for a W. But mini leaderboard special, birdie, mini max, and the Albatross. Those are the contests that I am looking to. Whoa, that's a lot of zooming. Those are the contests that I am looking to take down for this week. And by take down, I mean any one of them would be very nice. We're going to play golf. Make sure you're watching Strategy Show, which will be out today. PGA Strategy Show, that is. And then Live Before Lock on Wednesday, because this one is our final golf event for a little bit. That's all we got here, though, folks. Thank you for being here. Appreciate having you guys. Tomorrow, don't know what we're going to look at quite yet. It will depend on what contests have been posted, whether that's MMA or Saturday's PGA. We'll find something to look at. That will be done remotely from a hotel room somewhere in Virginia. Keep your eyes peeled for that one. I will be on Deeper Dive later tonight if you want to get some MLB thoughts, so tune into that one. Good luck to everybody for today. Thank you again to PrizePicks for being the presenting sponsor of this show. I think we got it all, guys. If you've got any other suggestions, please let me know in the comment section. Otherwise, have a good day.